We got John Avila in the house. John, what's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, good answer. So, John, let's just jump right into it. John, how long you been in insurance?
I've been in insurance now about a year and a half.
Awesome. And what you do before?
I was at Tesla for 6 years.
Nice. Sales or?
No, I was in the service side. So I would
Really?
diagnose the cars, but remotely. So I would just do it all from a laptop.
Did you deal with people or no?
I dealt with people for a little bit. That was part of my role. But for the most part, no. Just, random calls here and there.
So what made you decide to get into insurance? Because typically sales guys get into sales stuff. You were more in a technical role, no? So.
Yeah, that's true. For the most part, it's just because I hit a ceiling at Tesla. I wasn't able to get a raise. I had already basically hit the top of my role. So there wasn't really anywhere for me to go. All the managerial positions were taken and there was nothing that was actually going to be open for the next 6 months to a year. I didn't really want to wait that long.
Gotcha. When you got into insurance, so you started with FFO, I believe.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Were you scared or concerned about getting into sales, or did you think you'd be good at it? Had you done it before in any other job prior to Tesla?
No, I didn't have any sales experience. Obviously, no insurance experience. So yeah, that was definitely a big concern for me. Okay. My dad's always been in sales his whole life, so that maybe gave me a little bit of a nudge, maybe I could do it too.
I can see that. Did he encourage you to do it, or did you run it by him, or?
I ran it by him, and he actually didn't encourage me to do it because there's no benefits, there's no guaranteed paycheck. Yeah. Like, he's got a sales job that it has the base pay and then
like a W-2
exactly.
Sales job. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was okay with you getting into sales, just not necessarily insurance or 1099.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's very common for parents to worry. I mean, it's a parent's job really, to worry about you making the right move because they want you to do well. My mom was the same way. She told me that I should stick to my job and not get into insurance.
Yeah.
Jokes on her. But all right, so you started with FFL. How quickly did you see success, John?
So I got off to a pretty hard start. My first month, I closed 23 deals.
Nice.
Approved and issued.
Wow.
So it was actually really good, and I kind of thought I made the right move. I was like, all right, this is definitely where I need to be. Yeah. But the hot start kind of simmered down a little bit right after, and that's when I started feeling the pressure.
All right, so we'll break that down. So first and foremost, you weren't in sales. It's not like you were an insurance agent before, so you didn't have a book of business to try to go reach out to.
Yeah.
How'd you sell 23 clients? Did you buy leads? Did you have friends and family that you sold to? Walk me through that first month.
So my first month, I did buy leads. Okay. And I did, at the time, it was the branded leads, social media leads, things like that. So really, I got the script that they gave me. They told me you have to work, 10, 12 hours a day and just keep calling people. That's what I did. Yeah. I followed the script word for word. If you hear my first sales calls, it's probably like I was reading off of a book. Yeah. But people happen to buy. Yeah. So
you're like, oh shit, this works?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So sorry, somebody's blowing me off. So you sold 23, hot start, you're for sure I killed it. And then obviously like everything else in life, you got humbled by the industry a little bit. Walk me through that. What happened? Did you get chargebacks? Did you stop investing in leads? Did you stop training yourself? What do you think you can attribute that simmering down of the hot start to?
Well, one for sure is chargebacks, right? My business wasn't as sticky as it is now. I didn't stop investing in the leads. It was mainly just I didn't really refine my process, right? Mm-hmm. So I felt the simmer coming in, and I figure, it's not me. It's just I need more business to write. So I just invested even more in the leads, but I didn't change any of my processes. So that's where I started seeing I'm investing a lot more, but my business isn't growing because I haven't actually grown personally.
Got it. Makes sense. Yeah, it's almost where having a hot start, it's like the kiss of death in this business because you think you made it. And and obviously you don't want to take too long to do well, but yeah, that false sense of I'm good, kind of makes you let off a little bit when it comes to your development. And we see it all the time. And but yeah, you managed to survive. So what type of, I know you're working branded leads at the time, but let's kind of get into what you do now. before you walk me through like the technical aspect of what you do and how you sell and all that stuff, which is what we really want to obviously provide to everybody watching, what is the most you've written in a month, John?
54K.
54K, nice. And what's your average normally in issue paid monthly?
Average usually 30, 35.
Consistently?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so let's start with schedule. What does it take for you to be able to write, $35,000 of business on average on a monthly basis?
So usually I'm working 12-hour schedules. So whether it be 8 to 8, 9 to 9, whatever the case might be, just because I have people on the East Coast, people on the West Coast. I need to make sure I'm available for them before work, after work, whatever it is.
Gotcha. So you're working 12 hours on average. Do you have a family, John, girlfriend, wife, kids?
Fiance.
Yeah. She okay with you working that many hours?
Yeah, she is.
She's bought in?
Thankfully, she is.
It's a big deal, actually. Spousal or significant other support in this industry, or family support, it's huge. Because you're away, even though you're providing. Obviously, you're away for a lot of hours. Okay. Yeah. So working 12 hours. What type of clientele are you going after? What type of lead type do you work?
So for the better part of last year, I was just doing final expense. That's kind of what my specialty is right now.
Okay. So final expense, interesting, because a lot of seasoned, high-producing agents, for whatever reason, want to shy away from final expense, and including myself at one point. But the more that I understand the industry, I think it's actually probably one of the best markets to work. Why are you working final expense? What is it that you like? Is it how transactional it is? Is it the fact that you can generate more leads at a better cost and have more volume? Why do you work final expense mostly?
Not really because it's transactional. Sometimes it can be, right? It's okay. You need to cover your burial. You need to cover your cremation. This is how much it is, and that's it. But it's mainly just because a lot of times the people that I'm working with anyway, they're not even going to qualify for those better products. They're not going to qualify for term, for IUL. They're already, a little bit older. They've had some medical conditions throughout their life, and they're just disqualified from anything else. Yeah. So when they come to me, I'm actually able to find them something that is going to work for them, and at the very least, it's going to leave a little something for their family.
100%. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I hear people complaining all the time. I'm doing a mortgage retention campaign or an IUL campaign, and I'm getting older people or sick people. What I tell people all the time is listen, healthy 30-year-olds are not, the algorithm is not even targeting them to show them the ad, because they're not proactively looking to get life insurance. They should be, but they're not. And typically the people that are going to fill out a lead, regardless of the approach for the lead, is going to be somebody who's either older, because they're concerned that obviously they're starting to plan for their family to leave something behind.
Right.
People who are sick, right? They had a scare in the doctor, or they just got diagnosed with something, and now they're concerned that they might pass away and they don't have anything in place. Or the best scenario of the three is somebody that just had a death in the family, and they saw the power of life insurance, whether it was the power of having it and what it did for the family, or not having it and the burden that it brought. So one can argue, and I've never argued it, but kind of thinking that as we speak, that final expense might be the best approach to working leads, simply because at least the target or the approach on the lead is it's tailored or catered to somebody who's gonna have medical conditions, and it's not gonna have a crazy expectation of what insurance is.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Everybody else is gonna come with a different expectation, but it's almost like, not to a T, but it's almost like the same client sometimes that you're getting. Yeah, they're just there for a different reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the most part, when you're working those final expense leads, I mean, at least most of the people I spoke with, they've already gone through this process plenty of times with different other agents, promising them, IULs, terms, whatever the case might be. So they kind of already know, they're coming in, I'm going to be disqualified anyway. Why am I going to talk to you? And that's when I can kind of guide them through that. These policies are specifically for you because you have this medical condition. That means I can get you the lowest rate with a level plan because you have this medical condition.
Yeah, all of a sudden now you're valuable to them rather than just one of the bunch, for sure.
Exactly.
All right. So you're working 12-hour days on average. You're targeting final expense clients. I do want to get into scripts and things like that a little bit, like not the entire script, but just a high-level overview. But before we do that, let's talk about what you're investing in leads. what you told me you're working final expense leads. I know you're in a model where you're paying for your ad spend plus a management fee, similar to what a lot of the people here watching do. What is your ad spend investment weekly? Like, what are you spending on leads on a weekly basis right now that you're ramping back up, because you did take some time off and you're back in the business now? And at your peak, what were you spending? You know, what's your target spend, I guess you would say?
Sure.
When it comes to ad spend.
So right now I'm doing about $1,000 a week.
Okay.
And then a $250 management fee. So all in about $1,300.
Okay.
My peak was about $2,500 a week.
Got it. So you're spending right now $1,300. That is weekly.
Yeah.
Just to make sure we're on the same page. And at one point you were spending $2,500.
Yeah.
What is the minimum do you think agents should spend to be able to write, you know, $30K in a month? Well, to have success, period, bro.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
At a minimum, I would say at least $100 a day, you know, $700 a week, because it gives you a little bit of, lead flow to be able to work fresh leads every single day and not have to go into your backlog of leads from, 3-6 months ago.
Gotcha. So at least $100 a day. Were you always investing that much, John, or is that something that you kind of worked your way up to, or did you realize, damn, I have to start spending more? Like, how'd you get to that number?
So for last year when I started, when I had started with the agency that I was working with, I was actually in a really bad spot. So, earlier I told you I had started with a hot start, and then I simmered down.
Right.
That simmered down made me spend even more on leads, and I ended up putting myself in a really big hole in debt. So the agency I was working with was actually covering my expenses for the first part of the year.
Okay.
Right. While I worked myself out of that hole. And as soon as I was able to actually start investing in myself again, I figured, all right, now I know what I'm doing. I refined my processes. Let me go ahead and actually put the money in that I know I should invest in myself. Gotcha. To be able to make that I guess success happen.
And how much was the difference? Obviously not just from like a success standpoint, but just financially.
Yeah.
Like, did you see a better return when you went all in paying, and you were all in not just from a like work standpoint, but now you're also paying for your own leads? Did it turn into financial gain, or was it one of those things where like you were kind of on the balance that you weren't sure if it was going to work out at that point, or like, was it worth it? I guess is really my question, to go from having somebody paying your leads to you paying your own leads.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's when I had my best month, 54K.
Okay. Right.
Once I went in all in on myself, that's when I saw most of the financial gain.
Nice. All right. So what are things, if you had to give me a summarized version of like the pointers that you touch on during your script to get clients to buy from you, because I do understand that you have a pretty good closing percentage when you get clients on the phone. What are some of the main things that you look to cover? So I don't need you to walk me through the whole script, but maybe just kind of summarize it down to the things you're looking for, and the things, how intentional you're being with your words as you're going through your script.
Sure.
What are some of those things that you can maybe share with us?
I mean, I guess the first thing, probably like everybody else, you want to make sure you know exactly who you're protecting. Obviously, the client is the one getting the policy, but who are they looking to protect? Okay. Right? You get a name, you get a relationship, okay, and you keep harping on that during the pitch, during the presentation, right? From there, even though it's a final expense lead, I do like to figure out if they have a mortgage, if they have any debts that might be left behind when they pass away. Because at that point, if I know you have a mortgage, this final expense policy is not going to cover your mortgage if you pass away, right? But it could give your family time to actually take care of those monthly expenses while they figure out what the next step is.
Gotcha.
Right. So that's kind of what I like to harp on with
like
a final expense.
Finding a way to build value of anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I think sometimes, we get too caught up on just like, okay, a funeral's at a bare minimum of $10,000. Let's just get you that. And there is so much. I learned this from Marco actually, who sold really high premiums and final expense, and it was just that what he would do. He'd break it down to some categories. I don't remember the categories at the top of my head, but it was pretty much like supplemental income for your spouse if you have a spouse, or for your kid, whatever, whoever depends on your income. It was mortgage payments or regular expenses, obviously burial costs, and then I think I actually remember all the categories. The other one was legacy, leaving a legacy for grandchildren, even if it's $1,000 for each kid, whatever,
Yeah.
leaving something behind to the kids. and it showed in his average premium. And I do understand your average premium is significantly higher than the average final expense premium, right? Is that correct?
Typically, yeah.
What do you sell on average?
Usually about 1,800 to 2,000 is my average premium for the final expense.
Say that one more time.
1,800 to 2,000.
Okay, yeah, that's significantly higher.
Yeah.
All right, so 1,800 to 2,000, yeah, and what do you attribute it mostly to building value on the call?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Pick the rhythm back up quick.
Most of the times, you're selling, like you said, a $10,000 policy, a $15,000 policy. A lot of people aren't gonna look at that and say, yeah, I want to pay $150 a month, $175 a month for that plan. But when you break it down, you let them know this is gonna buy your family 12 months worth of time for them to cover your monthly expenses, your debts, your mortgages. I mean, it sells itself at that point.
Great point. Yeah, they're not buying the policy; they're buying what the policy does for them and what it does for their family mostly.
Yeah.
Great point. Okay. All right. When it comes to basic things, but things that people struggle with, for example, collecting payment information. Any pointers there as far as how you go about, one, collecting the banking information, and two, trying to avoid post dating as much as possible?
I mean, to be honest, I've never really had too much of an issue collecting payment information. And I would probably attribute that mostly just to my presentation. For the most part, while I'm going through my presentation, I'm presenting them with my state licenses, my business card. They're going to be able to have a face to the name. So once we get down to that personal information, social payment info, I never really have too much of an issue. Sometimes I'll have a little bit of pushback, but overall, it's just mainly building myself up as somebody who's actually credible, who's actually trustworthy.
Gotcha.
And I never really have any issues with that.
Okay. Fantastic. I think, and it goes back to confidence, really, to your point. I see too many people trying to rely on post dating to try to close the deal, and it's like the worst thing. That's chargeback city for sure.
Oh, yeah.
What's your retention rate?
My retention rate, right now, it's probably about 85%. So I maybe have like a 15% chargeback rate.
How come that is so good? Because average is 70% in the industry.
I don't know. I mean, well, actually, I do know. The reason being is that I follow up with my clients every 90 days.
Okay.
Right. And that's a non-negotiable for me. Right. Because 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line, 9 months down the line, whether or not they're going to keep the policy, they're at least going to be keeping a relationship with me.
Gotcha.
A lot of times I follow up with somebody and they say, you know what, I need another 10,000. Right. So it actually gives me another policy, and now my book is even stickier than it was before. Right. So just maintaining that contact with them, they know who they're working with throughout the year. That's allowed me to keep my clients.
Gotcha. Fantastic. And in those 3 months, are you setting reminders? Are you automating the stuff? Are you manually doing this, or there's a personal touch? How are you handling that?
I should automate it, but I just manually do it. I keep a spreadsheet of all my clients, and I just go back.
And to a certain extent, I think that does give it a personal touch, because I don't know how much the senior population could tell, but I can tell, if you get a CRM drip text that says reply stop to stop.
Yeah.
It's like, well, this guy didn't really write that. So okay, perfect. John, when it comes to dialing, do you dial around when you come in the morning?
For the most part, yes. If I don't have an appointment, then I'll just start dialing. I use the wave dialer on Go High Level. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
Yes.
And I'll just go through all of my clients. I just have time zone protection. I'm not hitting up people at 5 a.m. in California, but I'm dialing as soon as I get in.
Gotcha. And you said something when we were talking about banking info, which was establishing yourself as somebody who's trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do to build trust with the clients? Because obviously over the phone, it's a little more complicated than maybe if you're face to face per se. So what are some of the things that you do, John, or that you can share with us that help you be that professional that they can trust?
So typically I'll share my state license with them. So wherever they're from, Georgia, California, Hawaii, I'll send that over to them along with my business card. So they already have my personal information. It has the business address on there, as you know. And if for whatever reason I'm still getting pushback from there, then I'll have them hop onto my screen. I'll do a screen share with them, and then I'll take them through NIPR. I'll show them all of my licensing. It'll verify all of my information. And that right there, if I even have to do that, right there, it shows that I am who I say I am. I'm somebody that they can trust.
Gotcha. John, we're gonna get here to the tail end. You've done a pretty. I love how straightforward you are because it makes this easy. It's very easy to explain, understand, and teach the way you do it. But for new agents, I know how you were trained, which is pretty much very minimal, and then you still did well. I think some people sometimes, and these trainings are great, and but there's always agents that find that it's not enough. You know, they want more, and I attribute that maybe sometimes to just lack of like feeling comfortable or lack of confidence, really. What do you think is the best way to train a new agent that wants to start setting final expense? If you're a new agent, what should you do to get trained up? I guess is really my question.
I mean, yeah, like you said, the way I was trained was kind of minimal, right? I did a shadowing for a day and then I hopped straight onto the phones. What really helped me, at least, refining that, I wasn't necessarily a new agent anymore, but refining that process would be just doing role plays all the time. I would find whoever was right next to me, I would call my dad, call my sister, call my cousin, and just start pitching them. Like, don't buy anything from me, but I'm gonna pitch you because I need the reps. I get a little bit more comfortable with my script, and from there, that's really what helped me as a new agent to spread my wings, I guess.
So simple yet so effective, man. I was smiling because when I started learning phone scripts, I would like drive in my car talking to myself, like, "Hey, Bob, this is Joseph getting back to you from the senior benefits office." That was the script I used, at least back then, and I called all my friends. And like when they asked, I would just go straight into the script. I would even like, and they would be like, after a while, they're like, "Okay, this guy's practicing." But sometimes that's just the purest form of training. Really, is just repetition.
Absolutely.
I think we have too much training. Sometimes that it's not that it's not productive. It's not productive. It's kind of like redundant, because until you don't throw yourself in the fire and get some reps and then go around repeating the scripts and the pitches, you're not really gonna get good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, John, I want to thank you for taking the time to do this. I know that you got a busy schedule. I appreciate you coming on the training. I think you're gonna be that people are gonna benefit from this, because you made it so simple the way you just explained it. I mean, I know it is that simple. What you see is what we get. Which I love. So thank you, bro. Appreciate you being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.